What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope y'all been having a great week, a fantastic Friday as we start to make our rounds into the weekend. There's also already some things to talk about as we get into late next week. There's the potential for another severe weather event. It's just getting to that time of the year, guys. We're getting deeper into spring. We're about to get deeper into March. We're about to get into April. It gets really active around here in the Deep South in April. So we're going to start to focus on that because there's already a strong signal for the potential for more severe weather late next week. So we're going to start to gradually talk about that. Obviously, you know, with severe weather, the details do not really get fine-tuned until we get into the short-range modeling like the NAM and the HRRR models. So we're going to break down what we do know, and we're going to start talking about it because this is a crazy time of the year. Thank God, thank the good Lord, over the last 40 hours there was no fatalities. None across the southeast. We can rebuild, but we can't get back live. So thank you, Lord, for definitely answering all of our prayers with that. It's been a crazy 48 hours. I've had a lot of growth. I had a really successful chase in Alabama, and it was a great experience for me. So thank y'all for tuning in. For the new subscribers, I talk about weather here in the southeast, the eastern U.S., and I break down weather and also storm chase, which I just posted a video about a day or so ago of my chase in Alabama. So thank y'all for tuning in. Consider subscribing. Like the video if y'all do. I'm very active with the weather. Definitely follow me on Twitter. Very active on Twitter. Facebook, I post mainly about the state of South Carolina and how I started all this. So thank y'all for tuning in. Let's get going. So let's look at the GFS. So let's just kind of look at what we got going on coming up. There's an upper level low that's swinging through. It's going to try to pop off something off the coast, but it's not really going to influence anybody's weather. As we get going here, it really remains quiet. It's going to be chilly this weekend. I'm going to show you the temperatures too. But this is the next system we have to watch. The low pressure kind of swings over here, but it kind of gets going north. The jet stream is far up here, so you got storm tracks that are following the jet stream. That's just how it works. But what interests me is the jet stream begins to move south enough, and you get some kind of low pressure that forms here, and it begins to ride up. And obviously the GFS and the European are not completely in agreement of the placement of low pressure, which obviously is going to help depict where the severe weather is going to be. But it does have it swinging north of us, northwest. That normally can mean bad weather here in the southeast. So it gets going, and that'll be our next, really our rainmaker. So really, we potentially might be dry for a lot of the southeast all the way until late next week. So another dry stretch until the potential for more severe weather. Now we look at temperatures. It's going to be a chilly weekend. It's not going to be really a super spring-like weekend. You're going to get the influence from the upper level lows, still just kind of bringing its own cold air. But you look out west, and it's starting to warm up some. And we're going to start to warm up across the southeast and the eastern U.S., and it's actually warming up into the 60s all the way into Maine as you get into Tuesday, according to the GFS. But by the time we get late in the week, it's really starting to warm up. We start to get into Thursday, and this is when you have to start to watch out for severe weather. You're getting into the 70s and 80s, and this is where the severe weather is really starting to come as a trough, as a cold front starts digging. Down here, when you have some kind of trough digging like this, you have to watch out for some kind of storm system. So we're going to look at the European. What kind of energy flow do we have going on out here? Well, this is kind of showing basically our winds aloft, basically how fast is the winds moving. And so as we're going here, you notice we're getting into next Wednesday, and look how you have the brighter colors over us. That's basically meaning you're having a lot of wind energy. Something's happening here in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that's going to promote a lot of shear, potential cape building from the Gulf, and the potential for another severe weather event as we get later next week. So we look at this real quick. I'm going to show y'all. Basically, this is the European run. Granted, now this is not going to show you isolated, discrete supercells. It's just a European run. It doesn't show stuff like that. But as you get going, you're getting into Tuesday, and it starts to get active in the deep south, same areas that had the tornadoes. But notice what happens here as you get into Thursday. That to me looks like the potential for more severe weather just off face value. Now you can get going in time, and it kind of does that thing where it was supposed to do it yesterday, but it didn't. But it turns into some kind of linear look. some kind of line of storms, something. Some kind of low cape, high shear event, basically meaning you don't have a lot of cape, but you have a lot of shear, which means you normally have a lot of wind energy, and you can have the potential for some spin-ups in this potential line. Now this is almost a week out. So a lot to work out here, but this area right here, we could have some supercell development, and we can have this thing turn into some kind of squall line. But it's really far out. Yesterday was crazy. You know, it didn't really materialize like really anybody thought. But there ended up being a tornado threat a lot more further north than thought, as the tornado threat kind of rode a boundary and aided to some spin in the atmosphere. But there was some nice low pressure supercells in the upstate yesterday evening that were very photographic, and I had some friends of mine that got some really good shots. But as we're getting going, this is the Cape, so storm energy. If you watch my videos, you're going to know what Cape is by the time we're through spring, because we're going to talk about this a lot. But this is basically the available energy for the form of thunderstorm for convection. So you start to get into Thursday, or really just Wednesday still, and look at the Cape building in Louisiana and Mississippi. And it has that same look. You got some kind of cold front driving this, and you have a moist sector, a warm sector building ahead of the cold front, creating a lot of shear. So basically you're going to have winds starting to push this, and you're going to have winds going like this, and it's going to have create a spin in the atmosphere, just like it did the last couple days. So Cape is going to be building. It's going to get into the upstate, and it shows a little bit more Cape building into the Carolinas than maybe the last event. But this is so far out, guys. This is going to tweak back and forth. But check it out. Even after this event, we get into next weekend. Look at all this Cape. So this might start really might not be the only system, is what I'm trying to say. So it's very interesting. So you look at the moist sector. I always screw up the word sector. But this is Dewpoints, guys. So Dewpoints, obviously you get Dewpoints in the 60s and 70s. That is a prime environment that helps aid to severe thunderstorms. And look how these Dewpoints really start to rise as we get into next Tuesday. It's already climbing into the 50s. You notice there's no cold air damming over here. There's no cold air damming, so you don't really have to. The storms don't have to worry about that if this was to occur. Now you get going. Look at the moist sector. You're getting Dewpoints rising close to the 60s, near 70, and then they rise big time into the Carolinas. I mean, that big time across the Carolinas. This would actually maybe symbolize more of a threat for the Georgia and the Carolinas. I mean, just off Dewpoints. A lot of moist air, and then the cold front moves through, cools it back down very briefly, but then it builds again, and some real tropical air mass begins to build in. So this is something we really have to watch. This is the whole grand scheme of things, and here it goes. Here's that low pressure that swings through, but here it goes. You got some kind of low pressure swinging through here. It's dipping through here. It's swinging in a lot of energy. What that energy is, we're just not sure yet, but we got potential for more severe weather coming, guys. So definitely, this is the time of the year. I know they canceled schools for what seemed like no reason yesterday across the southeast, but keep in mind, better safe than sorry, especially they get these e-learning days. I mean, just take some time off with your kids. It's not the end of the world. You want your family safe, that's for sure. But that's all I got, guys. This is going to be the topic of discussion probably for the next several days. For some reason, severe weather threats on models seems to stick around better than winter storms 6 days out. I'll tell you that. So thank y'all for tuning in. That's all I got, and y'all have an awesome start of your weekend.